3 years. That is exactly 1,095 days. That is 26,280 hours. That is how long I played the role of the dutiful, invisible housewife. I scrubbed floors until my knuckles bled. I learned to cook traditional stews because his mother said store-bought was for lazy women. I wore clothes from thrift stores so he could wear Italian suits. I made myself small so he could feel big. I hid my identity, my heritage, and my billions, all to answer one simple question. Can a man love Serena, the person, and not Serena Vance, the heiress? And what was my reward for this sacrifice? A divorce paper thrown onto the coffee table and a look of absolute contempt from the man I thought I loved. He thought he was discarding a burden. He had no idea he was waking a sleeping dragon. He didn't just divorce a wife. He declared war on the sole heiress of the Vance empire. And if there is one thing a Vance knows how to do, it is winning. Welcome back to Midnight Cravings. I'm your host, and tonight we are diving deep into a story of ultimate redemption. This isn't just a breakup story. It's a masterclass in revenge. It's for anyone who has ever been underestimated, overlooked, or pushed aside. So grab your favorite drink, lock the doors, settle in, and let's witness the rise of Serena Vance. The silence in the living room was suffocating. It was the kind of silence that screams. Ethan sat on the edge of the beige sofa, a cigarette dangling loosely from his fingers, the smoke curling up towards the peeling paint on the ceiling. I was standing by the ironing board, pressing the collar of his white shirt, the steam rising up to meet the humidity of the room. It was the shirt he needed for his big presentation tomorrow, the presentation I had helped him write. Serena, he finally said, not even bothering to look at me. His voice was cold, detached, like he was ordering a coffee. I'm done. We need a divorce, the iron hissed as I set it down. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced my hand to remain steady. Excuse me. I whispered, hoping I had misheard him. Kara is back in town, he said. The name hung in the air like a foul smell. Kara, the college sweetheart. The girl who dumped him 3 years ago to move to Paris because he was too poor. The girl who broke his heart, forcing him into my arms for comfort. Now that he had a promotion and a little bit of money, he thought he was good enough for her again. He took a drag of the cigarette, blowing the smoke in my direction. Look, I'm serious. I've already spoken to a lawyer. The house, the car, the savings, everything is in my name or the company's name. You have no claim to anything. You leave with exactly what you brought into this marriage, which, if I recall correctly, is nothing. He reached into his pocket and flicked a plastic card onto the floor at my feet. It was the grocery card he allowed me to use. The limit was humiliatingly low, barely enough to feed to people for a month. Here, he said, his tone dripping with fake generosity. There's about $200 left on that. Take it. Consider it severance pay. I looked at the card on the cheap laminate floor. Then I looked at him. For 3 years, I had endured his mother's insults. I had endured his indifference. I had lived a lie to find a truth, and this was the truth I found. Ethan Miller was a man who loved money more than he loved people. I didn't cry. Tears are for people who have lost something valuable. I had just lost a parasite. I bent down and picked up the card. Ethan watched me, expecting a breakdown. He expected me to beg, to plead, to ask how I would survive without him. Instead, I snapped the card in half with a sharp crack that echoed in the silent room. I dropped the pieces into the overflowing trash bin. Ethan, I said, my voice terrifyingly calm. You can keep your money. You're going to need every penny of it. I walked into the bedroom and packed a single bag. Just my essentials. My toothbrush, a few changes of clothes, and a photo of my mother. As I walked out the front door, dragging my suitcase, his mother was waiting on the porch. She was a bitter woman who spent her days watching soap operas and criticizing my cooking. Leaving so soon. She cackled, her eyes gleaming with malice. Good riddance. I always told Ethan he could do better than a pauper like you. Kara is back, you know? A real woman. High class. Not like you. Don't think about taking the towels. I counted them this morning. I stopped. I turned to look at this house, a small, cramping box filled with people who had small, cramping souls. Martha, I said, smiling for the first time in months. You can keep the towels, and you can keep your son. You two deserve each other. And when the bills come due, don't say I didn't warn you. I walked to the end of the street, the night air cool against my skin. I pulled out a phone I hadn't turned on in 3 years. It was a sleek, black device with a single number on speed dial. Dad, I said when the line clicked open. There was a pause, and then a deep, commanding voice broke through, thick with emotion. Serena, is that you? It's me, I whispered, feeling the weight of the last 3 years finally lifting. I'm ready to come home. I'm sending the car, he said immediately. And Serena. Welcome back. 10 minutes later, the neighborhood was illuminated by the headlights of a custom Rolls-Royce Phantom. The locals peered out from behind their curtains as the uniformed driver, Alfred, stepped out and opened the rear door. Good evening, Miss Vance, Alfred said, bowing slightly. Your father is waiting. As the car pulled away, I saw Ethan and Kara standing in the driveway. Kara had just arrived in a taxi. They stood there, mouths agape, bathed in the red glow of the taillights. Kara looked confused, pointing at the emblem on the car. Ethan looked pale. But they hadn't seen anything yet. The next morning, the financial world was shaken. The headline screamed, "The return of the Vance heiress." I walked into the glass skyscraper that was Vance Global, my heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. I wasn't wearing the faded jeans and oversized t-shirts Ethan was used to. I was wearing a bespoke Armani suit, diamond studs in my ears, and a Patek Philippe watch on my wrist. I entered the boardroom. My father, the chairman, stood up and smiled. Gentlemen, he announced to the board, meet your new CEO. My first act. I asked for the vendor list. I scrolled down until I found it. Apex Solutions. Ethan's tiny, struggling company. My father had given them a contract out of pity for his secret son-in-law. It was the only reason Ethan's company was still afloat. Cancel it, I told my secretary. But Mom, she said, checking the file, that contract accounts for 80% of their revenue. If we cancel, they go bankrupt within a month. I looked at her over the rim of my glasses. Did I stutter, cancel it, and blacklist them from all our subsidiaries? The fallout was immediate. Within 2 days, Ethan's phone was blowing up. I sat in my office, sipping an espresso, listening to voicemails from him. First voicemail, Serena. Is that you? I saw the news. There must be a mistake. Please call me. Second voicemail, Serena, don't be childish. We can talk about this. The company is failing. You can't do this to me. Third voicemail, sounding desperate. Look, I'm sorry about Kara. I'm sorry about everything. Just give me a meeting, please. I let him sweat for a week. Then I told my secretary to schedule a meeting. 10 minutes. No more. When Ethan walked into my office, he looked like a ghost. He was wearing the same suit I used to iron, but it looked disheveled now. He stopped dead when he saw me sitting behind the massive mahogany desk, the city skyline sprawling behind me. Serena. He choked out. Mr. Miller, I said, not looking up from my documents. You have 5 minutes. Explain to me why I shouldn't buy your company's debt and foreclose on your office building today. He stammered, sweating profusely. But we were married. Doesn't that mean anything? I finally looked up. My eyes were ice. You said it yourself, Ethan. I left with exactly what I brought, and you. You're left with exactly what you are without me, nothing. But my life wasn't just about punishing Ethan. It was about facing Lucas Sterling. Lucas was the CEO of Sterling Industries, our biggest competitor and closest ally. He was handsome in a way that was annoying. Sharp jawline, piercing blue eyes, and an arrogant smirk that had haunted me since high school. Lucas had been my tormentor growing up. He pulled my hair, made fun of my braces, and critiqued my business ideas. I walked into the charity gala the following week, looking like a vision in a gold-threaded gown. The moment I entered, Lucas was there holding 2 glasses of champagne. Well, he drawled, handing me a glass. The prodigal princess returns. I heard you finally took out the trash. Hello, Lucas. I sighed, taking the drink. Still as charming as a rattlesnake, I see. He stepped closer, his voice dropping an octave. I'm just saying, Serena. If you wanted a merger, you could have just knocked on my door. I've been waiting for you to realize you were punching below your weight class before I could retort. I felt a tug on my arm. It was Ethan. He had snuck into the gala, dragging Kara with him. They looked out of place among the billionaires and socialites. Kara was wearing a dress that was clearly a knockoff, and Ethan looked frantic. Serena. Ethan shouted, drawing the attention of the nearby guests. You have to stop this. You're ruining my life. Kara chimed in, trying to look victimized. You're just jealous, Serena. You're using your daddy's money to bully us because Ethan chose true love over you. The audacity was breathtaking. The room went silent. I swirled the champagne in my glass, preparing a verbal takedown. But Lucas stepped in. He moved in front of me, using his broad shoulders to shield me from them. He looked down at Ethan with pure, unadulterated disgust. Security. Lucas called out calmly, not breaking eye contact with Ethan. There is a man here bothering my fiancé. The room gasped. I gasped, fiancé? Ethan turned purple. She's not your fiancé. She's my ex-wife. Lucas smirked, placing a possessive hand on the small of my back. One man's trash is another man's treasure, Miller. Although, calling you a man is generous. Now get out before I buy the bank that owns your mortgage and evict you myself. Security guards swarmed them. As Ethan and Kara were dragged out, kicking and screaming about unfairness, I looked up at Lucas. Fiance. I raised an eyebrow. That's a bold lie, Sterling. Lucas looked down at me, and for the first time, the arrogance was gone. His eyes were intense, searching. Who said I was lying? The tension between us shifted. It wasn't the childhood rivalry anymore. It was something electric. A week later, the city was hit by a massive blizzard. The snow was relentless, burying the streets in white. My father called me, panic in his voice. Serena, the roads are closed. You're stuck at the office. Do not try to drive home. I was alone in the massive Vance Tower. The heating was struggling against the storm outside. I wrapped myself in my coat, trying to focus on work, but the silence was unnerving. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was Lucas. Open the freight elevator. He said. What? Are you crazy? It's a blizzard. Just do it, Serena. I ran to the freight elevator. When the doors opened, there was Lucas, covered in snow, holding 2 bags of groceries and a portable heater. He looked like a snowman, but a very handsome one. I stammered. You walked here. In this storm? He brushed the snow off his coat. Well, I heard you were starving, and I know you get cranky when you're hungry. Plus, I brought wine. We sat on the floor of my office eating instant noodles and drinking expensive wine. The storm raged outside, but inside, it was warm. We talked for hours. Not about business, not about our families, but about us. About the years we missed. Why did you always tease me? I asked him, twirling my fork, because he said, looking at the city lights. It was the only way to get your attention. You were always looking at someone else. First it was your books, then it was your work, then it was him. He didn't say Ethan's name. He didn't have to. I felt a pang of guilt. I had been so blind. Suddenly, Lucas coughed. It was a wet, heavy cough. I noticed he was shivering despite the heater. He looked pale. Lucas, are you okay? I'm fine, he said, waving it off. Just a cold, but he wasn't fine. Within an hour, he was burning up with a fever. He collapsed onto the sofa, his breathing shallow. I panicked. The roads were closed. No ambulance could get to us. I spent the night nursing him, using cold towels on his forehead, holding his hand, praying to a God I hadn't spoken to in years. "Please," I whispered. "Don't take him. Not now. Not when I finally see him." In his delirium, he mumbled things. "Serena, don't marry him. He's not good enough." My heart broke. He had loved me all this time. While I was playing house with a man who used me, Lucas had been loving me from the shadows. By morning, the fever broke. He opened his eyes, weak but lucid. "You're still here," he whispered. "Where else would I be?" I said, tears streaming down my face. Well, he slept. I found his jacket on the chair. A small, leather-bound book had fallen out of the pocket. It was worn, the edges frayed. I opened it. It was a diary. The entries went back 10 years. June 15, 2012. "Serena wore a blue dress today. She looks beautiful." I told her she looked like a Smurf just to see her roll her eyes. God, I love her eyes. August 20th, 2015. "She's getting married to that Miller guy." My heart is ripping out of my chest. I should stop the wedding. But she looks happy. If she's happy, I'll step back. But if he hurts her, I will end him. January 1st, 2026. She's back. She's divorced. This is my second chance. I am not letting her go this time. No more games. I closed the book, clutching it to my chest. He hadn't just liked me. He had worshipped me. When Lucas woke up fully, the storm had passed. The sun was shining on the snow-covered city. I helped him sit up. "Lucas," I said, holding up the diary. His eyes widened. He tried to grab it. "Hey, that's private." I pulled it back. "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked away, his cheeks flushing. "Because I was a coward. And because I didn't think I stood a chance. You're Serena Vance. You could have anyone." I moved closer to him. "I don't want anyone, Lucas. I want the man who walked through a blizzard to bring me noodles. I want the man who has loved me since we were kids." He looked at me, hope dawning in his eyes. Really, really, he leaned in, and our lips met. It wasn't a tentative kiss. It was a kiss years in the making. It tasted of wine and redemption, but our story wasn't over. There was one final act to play, 2 weeks later, at the Grand City Ball. This was the event of the season. Everyone was there. I walked in with Lucas on my arm. We were the power couple of the century. Ethan and Kara were there too, somehow. They had probably bribed a waiter to get in. They looked desperate. Ethan's suit was frayed. Kara looked tired. Kara cornered me in the restroom. She looked unhinged. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "But Ethan still loves me. He only wants you for your money." I applied my lipstick in the mirror, calm and collected. "Kara, darling, Ethan doesn't love anyone. He loves himself. And right now, he hates himself because he lost the lottery ticket that was me." She screamed and lunged at me, trying to scratch my face. I stepped aside and she crashed into the towel rack. "Pathetic," I said, walking out. Back in the ballroom, Ethan tried one last Hail Mary. He grabbed a microphone from the band. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted, slurring his words. He was drunk. "Serena Vance is a fraud. She lied to me. She trapped me." The crowd murmured. Lucas stepped forward, looking ready to kill. But I put a hand on his chest. "Let me handle this," I said. I walked up to the stage, took the microphone from Ethan's trembling hand, and turned to the crowd. "Yes," I said, my voice projecting clearly. I lied about my money because I wanted to see if a man could love me for my heart. And you, Ethan Miller, proved that you are incapable of love. You cheated on me. You belittled me. And when you thought I was poor, you threw me away like trash. I turned to Ethan, but thank you. Thank you for showing me what I don't want. Because of you, I found what I deserve." I pointed to Lucas. Ethan lunged at me, his fist raised. The crowd screamed, but Lucas was faster. He tackled Ethan, pinning him to the ground. "Don't you dare touch her." Lucas roared. Security dragged Ethan and Kara away. As they were thrown out into the cold street, the ballroom erupted in applause. Lucas stood up, adjusting his suit. He walked over to me, took my hand, and got down on one knee. "Serena Vance," he said, pulling out a ring. It wasn't a gaudy diamond. It was a sapphire, the color of my eyes. A ring he had designed years ago, waiting for this moment. "I've loved you since the 2nd grade. I will love you until my last breath. Will you marry me?" I looked at him. I looked at the crowd. I looked at my father, who was beaming in the corner. "Yes," I whispered. Yes, 6 months later, Vance Global and Sterling Industries merged. We became the biggest conglomerate in the world. But more importantly, I was happy, Ethan and Kara. The last I heard, they were suing each other. Ethan is working a desk job, drowning in debt, and Kara is looking for her next victim. They are miserable, and honestly, I don't care. I'm too busy building an empire with the man who loved me when I was nothing and worships me now that I'm everything. Revenge is sweet, my friends, but living well. That is the ultimate victory. Thank you for listening to Serena's story. It's a reminder that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and let karma do the rest. What did you think of Serena's revenge? Did she go too far, or was it perfect justice? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to Midnight Cravings. We have new stories every week that will feed your soul. I'm your host, signing off. Sleep tight, dream big, and remember, don't let the bedbugs bite. Or the ex-husbands.